Hi, my name is Katie Frazier. I'm making this video to share with you some information that I've come across recently. I know I've made videos in the past, posting things on social media about my dad, Rick Frazier, and this is a video again about that. When I was younger, my dad sexually abused my sisters and I feel like nothing is really being done. I'm not at all angry at my dad. Yes, I'm upset with his decisions, but that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this so he can get the help he needs and so other people will not be hurt. Even back a few years ago, he admits to vandalizing this African-American pastor's church. Even you just see on the building, he wrote, there was KKK on there was swastikas, there was the N-word written all over this building, even like windows were broken, so it was violent. People could have been injured, but also just the message behind it really shows you his anger or, frustration, whatever it is, the type of thing, like what he has against African-American people specifically, and just that culture, just how wicked it is to do that. Even against a church, the church is predominantly African-American, but to do this against a church is really wicked just because of their culture.
To Washington, and I painted KKK symbols on the church out there in Washington. While I was out in Washington painting KKK symbols on the church, my legs got broke.
My dad even dressed up our family dog as a KKK member. It just shows you that, his racism and how he feels about the African-American culture. The reason I'm bringing up the racism in this is because, my mom, she supports this pastor. And when she made a donation a few years back, I remember my dad saying, I cannot believe she gave that money to a black minister. Like, for some reason, for him, race was involved. And this is just another one of the crimes that he is committing because he needs to be stopped. After I had first come out and called him a racist, he actually became a member of the NAACP just to kind of show that he wasn't a racist. So he's really using them, and just because he made a donation, since he's able to do so. So he's only doing this in order to try to look as if he's in good standing with them. All the crimes he's done, people need to see that he's a true racist. Like, when you're supporting lies that he is promoting, you are helping a racist, because my dad, even all the crimes he's done predominantly have been against the black culture and African-American people, except for the crimes, how he abused me and my siblings. He abused these underprivileged kids in Detroit at a camp, and most of the kids there were predominantly African-American. My dad has been stealing money from charities. So in this one recording, my dad said that he raised $500 million, or $500 million for charity.
I have raised $500 million for charity. $500 million for charity.
My question is, where did the $500 million go? Because even according to his 990, the tax exempt form for the IRS, it did not go into the charity. So, my dad hasn't been charged yet for any of these crimes. But that's just because he's been paying all these people off. A news station in Kansas City, Missouri actually already investigated my dad and the questionable use of his charity finances and spending back in 2014. One of the specialists there even said that she would call it a scam. He brings in so much money, but such a little percentage of it goes to the actual charities that they claim to be helping. And so they already investigated him for this and put this out on the news and the internet, but he still hasn't formally been charged for any of these crimes.
What if you gave $100 to a veterans charity, only to learn that just a small fraction of what you gave ever went to help anyone in need?
CAR is helpingvets.org, a car donation charity that, as the name says, helps veterans. This charity spends the vast majority of what it takes in, on average 83%, on running the charity, not on veterans in need.
I would call it a scam, even though it's a perfectly legal operation.
Sandra Minuti with Charity Navigator says that's way too much. Good charities usually spend no more than 30% on operations. The worst year for this car donation charity was 2012, when tax records show it raked in $4.6 million and gave only 3%. Or $182,000 to the groups it says it's helping. In 2011, the Better Business Bureau of St. Louis issued a warning, saying, among other things, that the man in charge, Rick Frazier, used to run the car donation program for the Purple Heart Foundation. They sued him for deception and destroying incriminating documents that they said proved he was cheating them out of money. We found charity funding, the company paid to run the charity's day-to-day operations. The man in charge is Rick Frazier, the same guy the Better Business Bureau warned you about.
Can you turn that off?
Rick Frazier's brother Steve stopped us short. Is it a legitimate charity?
It is, but...
Then, why wouldn't you want to answer these questions? No answers here, so we paid a visit to Rick Frazier's home. The charity business seems to be treating him well.
Even just with my mom in my dad's divorce case, the way I saw my mom treated by the judge, I knew that she had to be being paid off by my dad. And later on now my dad has admitted to paying off the judge.
I paid the judge. I paid the attorney.
The amount of money that when I was growing up, that he would tell my siblings and I that he had, because he would even just mention things like, from the charities that he would bring in, $500 million that he's brought in with charities. And he's saying, look, if I only take 10% of that, that's, $50 million. But so we're saying, Dad, you said you don't have $50 million. Like in the divorce, he's saying that he only has $4 million. So my mom got, half of that. We're saying, well, so then how do you have this other $50 million?
The charity pays me 10%. So $50 million's provided us a nice house, a nice living.
I know that he had accounts overseas that he was investing money in, like in Greece. And so it seemed like he was hiding money, and, that he did not have to, even in the divorce case, that he hid money from my mom and didn't even give her the settlement that she really deserved. Just something that happened, and this gets really graphic and it can be disturbing to listen to, but when I was just about 4 years old is the first time I really remember this happening. But I remember my dad and even his friend Paris, who lived with us for a couple years at the time, and they both came into my room. I remember it was late at night. I remember everything about this room now just because of this memory of what happened. And I remember that first they came in and gave me like Benadryl, they gave me medicine. And so it made me like really sleepy. I just remember they gave me medicine, and then I just felt weird after that. But then a little bit later they came in and they both laid in the bed with me. And that this happened when I was just 4 years old. And so this was not like a one-time thing. Like this continually happened. And my dad, he would always, I remember we moved houses and I got a new room. I even was in a room with my sister. And so I didn't think that my dad would still continue to come and lay in the bed and inappropriately touch me and all that, but it didn't stop. And even then later on, I found out that this had happened to my siblings, to my other sisters, that, that they ended up sharing a room, and my dad would come and lay in the bed with both of them and do the same exact thing. And so, I found out that this was happening to my sisters, and then later I found out that this had been happening to other boys. But the thing that is difficult, almost hardest about this, is that I had gone, when I was a little girl, 4 or 5 years old, and then later on, a few years after that, and a few years after that even, multiple times gone to Child Protective Services. But I thought, I trusted him because he was my dad, he was coming from this place of love, but he didn't love, that's not normal the way to be loved like that. And so then I see that I've gone to Child Protective Services, but nothing was done. And this was all swept under the rug from, my testimony, from my sister's testimonies. And now later on I find out, it makes sense because my dad admits to paying them off.
Yeah, but here's how I got away with it. I paid everybody. I paid that police officer, I paid the CPS people, I keep paying all these people, and all these people just kind of keep coming out, I keep slipping them up. I paid the judge, I paid the attorney, I paid the GALs, okay?
But just the fact that, someone who is in place in the government to help you could be so corrupt as to just sweep this under the rug to where it continued to happen, not just to me, but then I found it happened to my sisters. And, even just recently I've been, I knew about my dad molesting boys. This camp for younger boys in Detroit, he served there from like 1979 to 1986. And I remember hearing, my dad had to leave the camp because they found out about his sexual indiscretions, and there had been reports that boys said that he was molesting them, that my dad had been molesting them. So I remember hearing about that a few years ago. But then recently I've been actually able to connect with some of the victims, with some of the men, to hear testimonies from other men. And these are grown men, like we're talking, they're now 40, 50 years old. And they still struggle. Like if they hear my dad's voice on the radio or if someone mentions his name, they still relive the things that he did to them at that camp that he was at. And people would come forward, but it took 7 years for him finally to say, you know what, okay, I'll resign. At that point, there was enough evidence that the camp really, they had to let him go at that point. Here's some of the actual court documents where Rick Frazier was molesting little boys.
My relationship with Rick Frazier started while I was the age of 12. That summer, I attended the Joy of Jesus summer camp. Rick was my camp counselor. The other side of Rick Frazier confused and hurt me as a child. Rick Frazier made sexual advances and masturbated close to me. He had also asked for actual sexual contact with me when I was almost 19 years old.
My dad actually admitting to one of the boards that he was actually kicked off of, but to one of the charity boards, he was explaining them in detail, his indiscretions with men, even how he would, ask men if they would have sex with him and offer them money, like up to like $100,000, like we're talking thousands of dollars, $100,000 easily.
According to my friend, Mr. Frazier demanded that he have sex with him on the office table. Let's just bang it on the table. Mr. Frazier offered him $20,000 to have sex with him. When he refused and tried to leave, Mr. Frazier raised the offer to $80,000. I am aware that Mr. Frazier paid Paris Harmond a 6-figure salary, and Mr. Harmond did not work for charity funding. I have heard that Mr. Harmond was a former male stripper. Mr. Frazier told me to go to the file cabinets and pull certain files. When I was facing the file cabinets, Mr. Frazier jumped up behind me, grabbed me from behind, and thrust his genitals into my buttocks, and also groped my genitals with his free hand. Mr. Frazier said, "Come on, let's just do it on the table really quick."
Behind closed doors, my dad is a homosexual, and even I remember he was telling my siblings and he was talking with us, he would be grossed out when my mom and him were married. He would be grossed out about touching my mom or having sex with her. He would describe that to us and just describe how disgusting it was to him. And I'm thinking well, you're a guy, wouldn't you like my mom? That's why you're married. But no, he's behind closed doors. He likes men.
Okay, now we're going to kind of get into it. One of Mom's biggest grudges was that I would not touch Mom's vagina because it grossed me out. It's like I am with blood.
I didn't need to know this.
It's well, yeah, you do, because it's like with blood. How blood grosses me out, and I get lightheaded. The thought of putting fingers down there in the vagina always made me go like that. And Mom always wanted me to rub down there, and I couldn't rub down there. Okay.
Silly boys.
All right, okay, so therefore, take a side. This is the other thing. Okay, Rick likes boys. Which one is it? Either I like boys or I like girls. They're saying, hey...
It can be both,
No, it can't be both. No, it can't be. You either are molesting girls or you're molesting boys. Pick a side of the road. And I've never been
the side of the truth.
My dad even put out a video where he has the other 3 kids, my siblings, saying that he didn't do anything to them, that he didn't abuse them, he didn't hurt them. They say it on this video. But when you hear on these videos that all the time, they've been confronting him. In the past, they've, called him a sex offender, called him a liar, and they've confronted him about his crimes. But now he's threatening them. So I know that they've got to be scared and afraid of him, and that's why they did that video.
My name is Deborah Hoskins, and I'm coming to you today because I want you to hear the truth and not fall prey to the lies that Rick Frazier has been spreading.
I was married to him, so you know what? No one else knows him better than I did. I was with him for 19 years.
The 3 kids you see on a video online are actually my 3 kids that still live with their dad. And in that video, they are admitting that he didn't do anything. That is an absolute lie. And the only reason they have it up is because Rick is threatening them. Their father is threatening them if they didn't do it. I have the CPS documents with these kids admitting that Rick has touched them inappropriately and molested them.
So they are lying. You will even notice that it was posted from Rick's page. I lived with him. He used to beat me, and he was very abusive. In addition to being emotionally abusive, he was physically abusive.
Since I've been speaking out about this, and I saw the crimes that my dad was committing and how he was, just stealing the money from charities, not doing that properly, and I've been confronting him about, his molestation of young boys, even from such a long time ago, and then even how he abused me and my siblings. Just since I've been doing all of this, I feel that my life is in danger. Just since doing this, even my dad, he sent me messages and how I can never come back to his house again. Like, he's just upset at me, and I knew that was going to happen. But because of how he's so closely connected with, his brother, Michael Frazier is Deputy Chief of Police here in Royal Oak, Michigan, and just how he's connected with other officials. I feel like, if I leave the house or if I go somewhere, that my dad might try to, have me picked up or have me arrested just for even something menial, but just because he has the power and the people in his pocket to be able to do so. So, I'm scared because I know my dad has gotten away with this for so long, and he's not going to want to go to jail. So I wouldn't put anything past him to try and stay out of jail, even if that meant, doing something to me or harming me to where this testimony couldn't be shared further. I found out when he paid so many people off, he paid CPS, and that made sense. And now, my siblings are being forced, my siblings that live with him still, they're being forced to lie and to cover for them. He's threatening them that they can't call him a criminal even though they know he is. They can't call him a sex offender even though they know he is. So they've even had to come out and lie and protect him. But I know they're just scared because this is the same dad, the same guy that I know that abused me and then also abused them, and they still have to live with him.
So how do they get this thing? I'm a criminal. Okay?
You've gotten away with it for so long.
That statement right there, I've provided you guys everything, and nobody's given me the benefit of the doubt. Nobody's saying, my dad is a good dad.
You can't buy us with money.
Exactly. And so that's where things are going to drastically change. Life, as you know, is over. Your phone will be disconnected today. You'll no longer have devices. You most likely will be going to public school. You'll have no car. You'll have no basketballs. You'll have no extracurricular activities. You'll go to school. You'll come home from school. Life as you guys know it is over.
So many people involved who have just helped my dad cover up and get away with these crimes. And so now I have proof of this, how he's been working. Even, his brother, I was scared before because his brother is the Deputy Chief of Police in one of the cities here in Detroit. And so it's just so many people that I couldn't even go to that, you should be able to go to law officers and people of the government, but I couldn't because they were all in his pocket. And that's one thing, my dad, if there's a way, if he can buy someone off, he will do it. And so many people let him, they'll take his money just to let him go off and turn their cheek to look away from the crimes he's doing. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be bought off.